I'm a pickleball junkie.
Oh, dude, you're a Hoosier. Bobby Knight, man.
Through and through. There's never a dull moment, that's for sure.
Never a dull moment.
Yeah, everything is a little gray and everything is subjective.
Not only should that be a commercial for the MC, that should be a commercial for the entire industry. Ladies and gentlemen, EMC's in the house. Zach Stuckey, good to see you, man. Thanks for making the time to be here.
Hey, thanks for the invitation, Brian. I'm really glad to be here.
So I moved back to Idaho in 2010, and I feel like you've been part of the insurance landscape since that time. Kind of walk me through how you got started in the industry, and then what your path has been to get to EMC.
So my first job in the industry was with Progressive in 2013. Prior to that, I had a career in medical device sales, specifically surgical devices, and covered territories across Montana, Idaho, and Eastern Washington. But it was 100% commission-based. I was driving like 50,000 miles a year.
Whoa.
And was kind of getting burned out on that. And my wife and I knew we wanted to have children, and I knew I didn't want that lifestyle once I started having kids. And so Progressive had begun reaching out to me through a recruiter, and I got on board with them in the spring of 2013, and that's what started my career.
Okay, so 2013, you started with Progressive. How did you like that as a first insurance job? Were there any lessons you felt like you learned there?
I liked it a lot. Progressive tries to recruit people that are new to insurance for sales roles. They have a unique distribution model, and I had 192 locations across the state of Idaho, and so got to learn about agencies of all sizes, from small one-person shops to large corporate agencies. Had deep partnerships with some agencies and others where it was much more transactional. So it was a great entree into the industry, into the independent agent channel, and into the concept of insurance as a distributed product.
Okay, and you had, I think, a few other stops in between there and where you are today. Tell us about those roles.
Sure. So after I worked for Progressive for about 4.5 years, Mutual of Enumclaw recruited me to fill in their Idaho marketing rep position. They called a district marketing manager. And with Mutual of Enumclaw, I had a personal lines book of business, a commercial lines book of business, as well as a farm book of business. So it was a more diverse product set than what I had at Progressive. At the time I worked for Progressive, we were focused on auto and recreational toys and a little bit of commercial auto. But it was a more limited product set. So when I stepped into the Mutual of Enumclaw role, it allowed me to learn a lot more about property insurance, all lines of commercial insurance, as well as farm. I grew up in a cattle farming family in Indiana. So getting to work with farmers across Idaho and Eastern Oregon was very comfortable for me, and I enjoyed that a lot.
Dude, you're a Hoosier. Bobby Knight, man.
Through and through.
So if you looked at 192 agents with Progressive, when you worked with Mo, did the number of agents drop? Yeah,
it shrunk. Probably 60 locations, something like that. So larger books of business with each agency. Probably similar in total premium in the territory, but having personal lines, commercial lines, and farm, we had more premium volume per agency location.
Okay. And then talk about expanding your knowledge of the product when you worked for Mo. Was that challenging to kind of learn it on the fly? Did you have training? How does that work?
Definitely had a lot of training, also challenging, also learning on the fly. So yes to all three of those. To start off with Mutual of Enumclaw, I was in the home office in Enumclaw, Washington for 4 weeks, probably out of the first 8 weeks that I was employed there. Maybe 2 weeks at once, and then 2 separate trips for a week at a time, meeting with different departments throughout the organization. Ton of support, lots of collaboration. And then at Mutual of Enumclaw, we had deep relationships with our agency owners.
Okay.
So some of the agency owners are also the top producers. And when you're dealing with a personal lines team and a commercial lines team and the farm team, you're kind of touching a lot of different aspects in the agency. So provided a lot of insights and different perspectives on the way agencies view carrier relationships and taking a product to market.
Okay.
And it's also a different value proposition when you're selling a farm product versus a monoline personal auto product. It's a whole different conversation from the agency to the insured.
I know our team has put together an ag team. I didn't get selected to be on the ag team. In fact, every year they go to the big ag show where they sell the tractors,
Sure.
and they do a quiz on what's what. And so it's kind of an inside joke in our office. I like to joke, I say, thank you guys, I won again. Now, I literally know the names of none of the things like combine or whatever. No, I don't know any of them. But some of our people, like one of our gals, Emily, she was an underwriter for auto owners.
Yep.
On the ag team for auto owners. So there's going to be extensive knowledge there.
I think I have done your farm quiz. I think Marty sent it to me once when I was probably working with Mutual Venum Call or Liberty and working with some of the farm products within your agency. And Marty sent me his farm quiz.
Marty is a farm legend.
Yes.
He's been an ag agent for a long time, and he's known for that. So we actually went to a farm once, and I was tagging along with him. This is back when I pretended like I was going to learn ag, even though we realized that wasn't a thing. So we walked into this barn, and there was this like machine. It was like a seed sorter or something. And Marty lights up and says to the gal who owns the farm, "Is this a 76?" And she goes, "It's a 77. I literally had a notepad and I wrote red thing because I had no clue what they were talking about. Would you say the training you got from Mo, is that consistent with what other carriers would do? Like on the carrier side, I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's underwriting appetite, there's underwriting processes that you need to learn as a marketing rep for when you're pre-qualifying risks with agents or you're taking a product to market. So on the carrier rep side, our customers are largely independent agents, not so much the actual insured that buys the product. We're serving the agents. And so when we're going to train an agency or try to promote a product at an agency, we need to know the underwriting appetite, but we also need to know the workflow. How does it look through the portal and the screens the agents are seeing in the carrier website? How are the billing options presented? What are the claims processes like and key contacts? And so when you're going through training like that at a carrier, and this has been true with every carrier that I've worked for, you spend time with underwriters, you sit at the desk with people in customer service, you sit at the desk with people in billing, and you look at and ending claims, and you look at all the different situations that come up on a day-to-day basis, and what are our options? How do we address them? What's the agent need? What does our insured need? How do we communicate that? And then how do you ultimately try to identify where's a pain point or a problem, and how do we fix it today? And then that way we're not going to have the same call next week on the same issue.
Right. As you talk about people and the training and the learning, sometimes there's like a training that can't be taught by a book. It has to come from a person, like that mentorship. Walk me through like maybe each role, like maybe each carrier, and then a person who you felt like made a big impact in your life.
Okay. Give me a second to think about that. This is a small industry, and here in the Northwest, in the independent agent channel, it's a really small group of folks that are, we work with in different relationships, whether it's on the agency side or the carrier side. There's a lot of overlap. I have had a number of folks that I would consider mentors in my career. One thing that can't be learned in like a trial setting, and you have to kind of learn on the fly. I learned from my manager at Progressive Insurance, who was a woman named Shelly Rogers and was a tremendous manager and an awesome supporter of my career. And we were in a meeting together one time with a group of agents that they didn't all work for the same agency. And this was a very difficult conversation. The agents were not pleased with us, not for anything that Shelly or I had done, but on a larger scale issue. And they had called this meeting collectively as a group of agencies to talk about this with us. And so we're in this conference room, and let's say there's 5 or 6 people sitting around the conference table in addition to Shelly and I. And she's kind of running the meeting, and she starts with the first person, and that individual kind of lays out their thoughts and frustrations on a current situation, then to the next person, then to the next person. And as can happen sometimes in those meetings, it can be a little bit of like a piling on. And so I was younger in my career then, and I wanted to interject and start defending us like after the first person talked. But Shelly was so patient, and I learned so much from her in this setting. She went all the way around the room, let each person talk and get everything off their chest they needed to. And she was taking notes in her notebook, and I was too. And we were listening. And then when they were all finished, there was sort of a pause, and probably an awkward pause, to be honest. And I was just like itching at the bit to like start, okay, let's address problem number 1, and here's our answer to that. And question number 2, here's our answer to that. And she just waited, and that pause kind of centered the attention back on her and sort of de-escalated the conversation. And then she said, okay, did everyone get a chance to say what's on your mind? And did everyone get a chance to say how you're feeling? And then they all, yep, kind of around the room, everybody nodded. And then she said, okay, we'll start with the first point. And then she went from there. And the way she handled that was so professional and ended up being a great meeting. We all left smiling, shaking hands. And had I just been there by myself, I would have interjected immediately on the first one and got into this probably more, I don't want to say argumentative, but a more a debate style, back and forth. And so that's something I think about today. And that was probably, I don't know, 12 years ago, something like that. And I think about it regularly.
Interesting.
So that was a huge lesson. Another example was my manager at Liberty Mutual was a man named Joe Condino. And Joe is still to this day, and I see these folks around from time to time and maintain good relationships. Joe ran our team meetings in a really organized, visual way. And when I went to EMC and began managing a team of people, I took a lot of the way Joe ran his team meetings, and I used those for my team meetings. And we have a meeting board where we share our ideas in real time throughout the month, and then we have our monthly meeting, and everything's already laid out on like a team whiteboard, and everyone's had a chance during the month to add whatever information they come across in the daily hustle and flow of emails and phone calls. And it's real quick to throw a note on that team board or a graph or an attachment or something we want to talk about later. And then we get to time for our meeting at the end of the month. The agenda is already all laid out. Everything's there. Everyone's had a chance to see it ahead of time, add notes, add feedback, and it makes our team meetings really flow in a smooth, collaborative way.
Wow. Shout out to Joe. You know your ideas are good when Zach's here stealing them and using them.
That's definitely. And I've told him I've used that before.
Yeah, that's the biggest compliment that someone can give you, right?
Sure.
Is that they're taking your ideas and saying, "Man, this went really well. I want to use it."
Yeah.
How about? Okay, hold on. EMC. We got to talk about this.
Sure.
You work with Jared Stone. We need to have a 5-minute roasting of Jared Stone. No, just kidding. Totally kidding. But Jared Stone is one of my favorite people in insurance because the only time I've met him is when we hung out at the golf course, a year or two ago?
Yeah.
I had never met him in person. We'd only talked on the phone.
Okay.
And I loved him picking up the phone. Every time, the same thing. That Southern drawl, Jared Stone.
You got it.
I don't want to have more Southern catastrophe losses, but I do want more underwriters from the South.
Okay.
Because the drawl is just amazing. So Jared was our underwriter at Western, and he helped us when we were building kind of a transportation and towing book, and I've since kind of passed those accounts along. But I think that was a time when he was super patient and gracious.
Okay.
And then right as we kind of were hitting our stride and moving on from the book a little bit, I know he had made some career changes, but next thing I know, I turn around and what's his role right now with EMC?
So he is our Northwest Region Vice President.
Okay.
So EMC recently went through a realignment. We had 17 branch offices countrywide that each operated basically with their own appetite and their own P&L responsibilities. This most recent realignment we've been working through, we now have 10 regions, and we're going to have a standardized countrywide appetite.
Okay.
So he is the vice president of the Northwest region. So our region comprises Montana, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington. Okay. Jared is over 4 states. And then Jared has an underwriting director who's Aquila Lloyd.
Okay.
And then I'm our sales director. And so Jared is over the sales and marketing side and over the underwriting side of the Northwest region.
Okay. So Jared to Zach, Zach to his team. Mm-hmm. What are you most excited about with EMC right now?
We just did this little analysis a week or two ago, and we looked at all of our team members. So in our Northwest team, we have about 30 team members serving our agents in those 4 states. Our average tenure is over 15 years on our team. And a number of folks on our team have worked for other carriers and have been around the industry for a long time. So, I mean, I've never worked on a team. I've worked on a lot of great teams at prior carriers, but I've never worked on a team with this level of experience in the commercial insurance segment in the Northwest. I mean, we are really, it's a mature group, it's a seasoned group, and it's a lot of fun working with folks who everybody's been through the fires multiple times, and we all trust each other and we collaborate and support each other. It's a wonderful team to be a part of.
Wow. So like, okay, you're driving from point A to point B, visiting agents maybe. What are you playing in the car? You have an audiobook, you got a podcast, maybe some music?
Yeah, so depending on the time of day, if it's early morning, you're probably going to find me listening to sports talk radio.
Okay.
I have young children, so I don't get to watch much sports anymore in the evenings like I used to. So the Dan Patrick Show in the morning is sort of my catch up on sports and go-to. Otherwise, I'm a podcaster and across a wide variety of topics.
Like hit us with like Zach Stuckey's maybe top 3 podcasts that you like. No judgment. This is no judgment zone, just between you and me. No one else will hear it.
So there's a podcast by a guy named Lex Friedman.
Okay.
I try to listen to about all of Lex's podcasts. If you're familiar with Lex, he would be on my short list. The Joe Rogan podcast, I scroll and see what Joe's got. He usually has a variety of guests, and some of them I don't listen to, and some I really like listening to. So those are 2 that I check regularly. And then a third one would be anything from NPR. So I have Fresh Air or This American Life, Wait, Don't Tell Me. I kind of scroll through the This American Lives and try to listen to those throughout the week as well.
Okay. What would you say is your primary thing you want to do with your free time?
Oh, family. I mean, family takes up a lot of my free time. My wife and I, we've lived in Boise since 2010. She's from North Idaho. I'm from Indiana. We don't have any family in the Treasure Valley at all. And so we're a pretty tight group, the 4 of us. I have a son and a daughter, 4th grader and a 2nd grader. And then, we have to travel to visit family. So we spend a lot of time traveling to, whether it's California or North Idaho to visit my wife's family, or back to the Midwest, to Indiana to visit my family. It feels like a lot of our vacation time is used going to see family. And then around Idaho, I mean, we love skiing in the winter. We hike and swim in lakes in the summer, and kids are busy in sports and activities, and there's never a dull moment, that's for sure.
Never a dull moment.
Yeah.
Okay, here's something to think about. I don't like working out, and I definitely don't like being away from my family to work out. So I like being at home, it's easy. I put a Peloton in a side room of our house.
Okay.
But I typically watch with sports tape delayed.
Yeah.
So you got an Indiana basketball game or, Boise State or whatever. For me, working out's too boring. So if you can ride and watch at the same time, and your kids can be in the room and they're kind of playing a game or whatever, I don't know, that's kind of worked for me. So
yeah.
Favorite exercise routine for you?
I'm a pickleball junkie.
Oh, wow.
So when I get like a minute, if I'm going to get a couple hours of just Zach time to go get some exercise, it's usually pickleball for me. And that's a new thing I learned during the pandemic. I was always from Indiana, always a basketball player, and played basketball at the downtown Boise YMCA over lunch for many years in the regular noon ball game. And when, the pandemic happened, the gyms were closed, and a couple of the guys were like, hey, anybody want to go to a park and try pickleball? And I said, sure, one day, and went and tried it in that spring of 2020, I guess. And I had a ping pong table in my basement growing up as a kid and played tennis growing up. And so picked up the hand-eye coordination pretty quick and have gone back and played basketball maybe 5 times in the last 5 years since I discovered pickleball.
Yeah, dude. I know my wife's a big pickleball fan, so we played a little bit now and then as well.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's close with this one.
Okay.
If you had to give advice to someone either starting in the industry or considering a job in the insurance industry, what would you say?
Oh, I couldn't recommend insurance high enough. I'll look at the camera on this answer. It's a wide open industry. there's a ton of opportunity no matter what your personality traits are or your intellectual strengths. Every day is new in insurance. Every risk is different. We're in the business of risk management and risk transfer, and it's not objective, black and white, yes or no's. Everything is a little gray, and everything is subjective. And it's always evolving. There's always something new. And it's incredibly rewarding. It's a business built on relationships, and people, when you're buying or selling risk, there's a level of trust and a sort of an unspoken promise that goes in that your risk will be covered in the event of a loss. And what drives that is trust in the relationship with the person you're working with. And so whether that's insured to agent, agent to carrier, it's all about building relationships and then working together collaboratively to address a risk. And is this a risk that we're willing to take on? And if so, for what's the price for this risk? It's very dynamic and it's super interesting.
Wow. Not only should that be a commercial for EMC, that should be a commercial for the entire industry. Zach Stuckey, great to see you, man.
Thanks
you,
Brian.
For being here.
Appreciate it.